Hello and welcome back to Raise Gaming, and very soon title update 2 for Wilds. For this video I've just got a pile of important and useful things to know about it, from their own announcements, the patch notes and all the specific details, as well as this mini little dialogue they had that they call a mini director's letter. Let's get started. The date of release is of course June 30th, Monday in terms of UK time like myself. The servers are going to go down at that time of 10 minutes before 1 AM and returning at 5:30 AM from me here in the UK. That's British Standard Time. It will be playable in offline mode, but there won't be online mode during that. But they did say that the maintenance may last longer than that. We'll see. With title update 2, we have two main monsters revealed. Of course, we have Lagiacrus. We also have seregios back. For the Lagiacrus, we've got Hunter rank 31 plus as the requirement. It also states that you need to have completed a world turned upside down and forest to Shagama, but this is from the main story that we've been doing and a side mission that we probably should have done long ago. But be aware, there's two kinds of Lagiacrus that we're actually going to be able to hunt. So we've got the regular version and the tempered version. And the tempered version will appear when you're Hunter rank 41 and above after completing that extra mission. So there's a bit more for this one in particular, as it is the main monster of the title update. As we've seen both examples of ground or quote normal combat, but we've seen an underwater combat light experience in what they've shown. As they explained, most of the fighting will take place in normal circumstances, but when you do face him underwater, you'll go into this new mode where you can move around in a 3D space, but you know, it's not try, you can't swing your weapon, there's no special underwater combat per se. Instead, they've gone for special actions, almost like you might imagine with the Kuma collab event. So we've seen various actions shown where we've got a dash to dodge and evade around attacks. We can use our grapple to pull down terrain, so dealing damage with the terrain underwater. But we can do some direct combat where we attach the grapple to him and drag ourselves in for some quick dagger attacks, like say mount damage or something like that. I don't imagine this section's going to be massive, but more of a part of it that you're going to have to overcome and manage. People are very hyped by this reveal though, and I think it's a really good way to do some sort of middle ground between that lack of real underwater combat and something a bit more CG and spectacle related for such a special monster. They also showed us Lagiacrus weapons and armor for Wilds, which obviously looks familiar and awesome, but little note here is that some weapons didn't exist back when Lagiacrus did, so they highlighted insect glaive. We now have one of those to match. This suggests that all 14 weapons should have their own Lagiacrus weapon, since they did say now all the weapon types are going to be represented. Oh, and yeah, they showed us the palico set, which gives him a little axe and kind of makes him look like a little pirate, which is cute. In regards to the skills that we might hope for this set, it's one of the ones that are going to be the most unknown. Josh was telling me that Lagiacrus never actually had anything unique to him in the way that 5th gen started to do that kind of signature skill concept for monsters, especially the title update ones, but his set was generally pretty decent. Involvements of focus, weakness exploit of course, stamina benefits, and element skills depending on the 3rd and 4th gen version. Josh was suggesting that like we saw with Mizu, he may get a unique set bonus and even a potential weapon skill, a new one, as a title update monster, like maybe what we saw with Shia and the White Flame Torrent skill. It's anyone's guess what we're going to get, but it seems very reasonable. And since they're not restricted by having to do something of the past, they can do something particularly good, hopefully. As a last note for Lagiacrus, they posted this on the Twitter account that Lagiacrus is less inclined to part with its rarest materials compared to other monsters, but hunting a tempered version will increase its drop rate. I guess this is to encourage players to fight the monster a bit more than like once or twice to then get the things they want and need. On the other hand, we have seregios. Again, you need to be Hunter rank 31 plus to start this, and this one you'll need the same mission, a world turned upside down, to be complete. But again, that's one we'll have done a while ago. A tempered version has been added and will appear again when you're at Hunter rank 41 plus after completing the seregios mission. As a monster that's not one we haven't seen in ages, but more of a recent return like we saw it in Sunbreak, people are excited, but it's not like as big of a reveal. Anyway, we got to see a couple parts of it, like the familiar grab animation and the visuals of the weapon and armor set, which looks awesome as always. Since seregios is heavily tied to bleed though, it is something we're going to need to consider, and we'll talk about that in its own section for what you can prepare right now. But I want to highlight the patch notes of Title Update 2 and how they said crouched movement now also benefits from faster recovery time from the bleeding status effect. So if you ever tried to crouch and wait out a bleed, which is an old familiar mechanic, in Wilds for some reason it was a bit meh, So they've sped that up with this incoming bleed monster to consider. In regards to the skill hopes for seregios, Josh was telling me that he's always had a pretty decent gimmick. Initially, it was his weapons that would cause a self-sharpen effect when you would roll enough times, which was very good. His weapons were also pretty good, relatively meta competitive. But it was in the Sunbreak form that the quirk was put on his armor rather than the weapon, and they gave it the blade scale hone skill. This would recover sharpness and refill coatings and ammo as well for ranged weapons, which is a nice way to do it. So we don't know whether we're going to get it as a unique armor skill, a set bonus, or on the weapon skill. But given Wilds' notion for weapon skills and what they're doing with monsters, we imagine it might be the weapon skill. Either way, it's very likely to be a self-sharpening benefit, which normally would be awesome. But in Wilds, our sharpness management has always been pretty good, with things like razor sharp on their decorations, or our ability to hop on the seikret and just sharpen while moving. We're not sure if it's going to be as good this time, so hopefully they do something a bit more special with it. Now both Seregios and Lagiacrus will appear as 8-star tempered monsters in the update. They're meant to be some of the hardest challenges in the game, so they mean business. There will be a normal version and then an 8-star tempered version, so maybe that normal version is going to be more like a 7-star. We'll see. And just like we mentioned with Lagiacrus, they put out a tweet talking about Seregios' drop rate, who apparently has lower drop rates of its rarest material unless you're fighting its tempered form. So again, further encouragement of the hardest version for the best drop potential. For future monsters then, we also have Arch-tempered duna announced. This is the one we were speculating and well expected. She'll be here from July 30th until August 20th, which is actually 4 weeks after the title update drops, which is a bit longer than normal. Once again though, it will be an AT monster with a special quest though, so limited time. With what we've seen from AT Ray, they probably will bring it back in the future though. So expect a special challenge with pendant rewards if you manage to defeat it within the time restrictions like before. They stated it's going to be both an event quest and a free challenge quest, so maybe there'll be 2 versions to consider. Anyway, they did show us the new armor set, the Gamma one, which looks extremely colourful with this kind of marbled look, familiar of course to duna. This is one of the most popular and beloved sets from Wilds, at least in my experience seeing it online. I'm wearing the chest piece right now in my current set, so I do think we're going to see a lot of this Gamma version. Sadly, we're not massively hopeful for meta skill additions though. Latent power with AT Ray had potential. It was always like close to being meta or relevant, and it got that push from the Gamma set. So we're not too sure about that. Hopefully they do something unexpected. But anyway, to take down AT duna, you will need to be hunter rank 50+, just like Arch-tempered Ray. No surprise there. One little detail though about monsters that's going to be interesting is in the patch notes. They said tempered monsters will now appear in monster herds. Now, the wording on that's a bit vague, isn't it? Does that mean we're going to have like the alpha Dashagama and normal Dashagama? Like non-tempered Lagiacrus and then tempered with that? So the exact meaning of this I'd like to see. But the whole herd and pack mechanic is a bit underdone in Wilds, considering it was like a big point during all of the marketing and build-up. So I wonder what they really mean by that. Now let's bounce around a lot of other information and extra details about it. Starting of course with the layered weapon system. Crafting the final weapon in a tree will allow you to simply make that as a layered weapon. The grind here then will be gathering the many materials, especially in our case, lower ranked versions we haven't done in ages, to then be able to get through all of the tree to reach the final version. There is no special system or limited releases or staging for layered weapons. It's just that final piece and you've got it. I think a lot of people are going to be relieved about that because it means you can do a quick focus on certain monsters and before you know it, you'll have that weapon. They did also mention the layered unlock for Artian weapons. It's basically just fully reinforce a rarity 8 Artian weapon, so 5 reinforces, and then you'll have it. Which is a funny thing for them to highlight because everyone's pretty sick of Artian weapon visuals at this point. But it's still good to know, and they did show us these 3 different versions. So I guess this is based on the rarity. Maybe we could choose between them rather than just a rarity 8 version. For palico layered weapons, you just need to craft the high rank version of any of its weapons. That's nice because many of us have been running para or sleep or other things like that for our palico. So it's nice to finally have full control over those visuals. In regards to the Artian meta, they made it clear that that's going to continue as an important thing with all the investment we put into getting these RNG setups. They've hinted at with the mini director's letter that in title update 3 and 4, they're considering ways to make those arty weapons we've worked hard on be relevant long term. So I'm expecting them to expand on that system in those later updates, but not title update 2. Little detail I think we're all going to be damn happy about for some quality of life is with Nata here. They posted in the patch notes that we're finally going to get some sort of material retrieval take all button. Instead of having to go through this manually one by one, we're going to finally have a take all button. What a concept. There's also going to be photo mode updates. There's going to be lots of new features, like the simple ability to hide the handler, palico, seikret, and NPCs in general, the various glows and outlines of different skills for when you take your picture or whatever it is you're doing. Something long requested since the game started, so very good. Here's a surprise. They're letting us do a handler swap. You can choose to bring Eric instead of Alma on your hunts, like we had in a couple key moments in the story. Not exactly expected, but yeah, sure, why not, right? They also highlighted some future event quest stuff, like everyone's very excited about the Gemma's outfit, her cool jacket and everything. We're going to be able to wear that. And also fun favorites like, the old longsword pickaxe from previous event quests like back in World, and other outfits and cosmetics in general. Little detail is the support hunter update. They're adding a new SNS hunter, Mina, alongside Fabius, who's going to be able to use his lance, obviously. He'll be a limited time seasonal thing though, but from here, you'll be able to choose which support hunters actually join you when using an SOS flare. So if you're doing that and you care to, you can control it a bit better. They highlighted the Arena Challenge quest for Mizutsune, that's coming up next. So when that lands, expect a forced loadout for that hunt, strict time limit, you got to beat Mizu, and you probably get a special pendant reward if you do it at the best time possible, as before. Here's a weird one. There's a crazy collab event happening with Fender guitars. Fender is currently selling a themed Rathalos guitar, while we're going to have access to guitars in Wilds for some fun gestures. We saw in the trailer the hunter player was playing a proof of the hero and a little sting, which was neat. It's going to be part of a limited time event quest that's actually going to be coming quite a while from now, dropping August 27th, but lasting for a full month, ending September 24th. We'll be waiting for that one. They revealed more new cosmetics and gestures. There's going to be that dance that people are excited about. That's going to be free to download. But outside of that, there's also going to be the new DLC packs and other paid cosmetic content. More interesting is, say, the summer hub event, Flame Fate, where it's going to, of course, overhaul the hub with new visuals. They've teased some very cool looking seasonal equipment, much like what we got with Spring Blossom, but also other stuff like gestures, more pop-up camp decorations. It's all looking very red, green, and vibrant colors, fiery, and of course summery. All the NPCs are going to have their summer outfits, just like what we saw with Spring Blossom and how that changed things. As expected, it will be 2 weeks after the title update launch, landing on July 23rd and lasting for 2 weeks until the 6th of August. Overall, you should expect this to be amazing for event quests, rewards, and in particular, a great time to farm materials like armor spheres and ingredients for cooking. In the patch notes, they also mentioned barrel bowling. It's got additional rewards, as well as new special arrangements for the seasonal stuff. The version of barrel bowling bombs for the seasonal events are going to act and behave differently compared to normal large barrel bombs, so that should be interesting. A big topic of focus, of course, is the improvement to performance. They've got references to this throughout all of the patch notes, but they also did this mini director's thing on Twitter, like I mentioned, and they talked about loads of improvements with UI and quality of life, weapon balance adjustments we'll mention in a sec, but they also mentioned game stability. They're now supporting different graphics upscaling. They've adjusted the amount of VRAM used with texture streaming, so VRAM usage is going to be down. That's a nice thing to have. The other big deal is the issue they caused in the May update. CPU load being weird and intense due to shader compilation occurring while you're playing. So that was causing some serious instability through gameplay. They did give us ways to fix this by messing with our own shader files, but for most people, they're never going to look at the Twitter or think about that or ever see that, and now their performance is worse. So they fixed that and you don't have to think about it. That's good news. But is this the major improvement to performance that we're hoping for? Well, yeah, there's going to be improvements in Title Update 2, but I don't think it's as major as people are going to want. But I think with the recent review bombing and everything, they know how serious this is. Right, jumping back to more of the live stream stuff, we had more weapon changes shown, like the hammer highlight. We got the offset on the level 2 charge attack, the upswing, which looks awesome. Then we have the new offset follow-up for the hammer, where you kind of pull yourself forward with a grapple, and then use that to start to spinning bludgeon straight towards the monster, propelling you forward, and then up and down for a massive slam, which looks super devastating. A fantastic moveset update for hammer there, but they also mentioned in the patch notes that the offset effect was also added to the mighty charge, so that's insane. They also said charge big bang raw damage has been increased, so that's good news. And the mighty charge slam, the raw damage and element scaling of that was increased. That's nuts. Other weapon changes are coming in the update though. I'd recommend you take a look at the details of that in the patch notes yourself. But for some standout examples I want to mention, Jewel Blaze, one of my mains. They've given it some new functionality. So you can have better movement speed while you're in demon mode, which is something I was specifically requesting. They've added a new special dodge transition into blade dance. So if you've got demon boost mode active after landing a perfect evade, you can do a dodge into blade dance and it'll skip blade dance 1. That's great because the meta is usually demon flurry 1 into blade dance 2, blade dance 3 for kind of most reliable optimal DPS mid-combat. Blade Dance 1 takes a long time, and now we have this way to fully skip it. That's actually pretty cool. They increased the raw damage of various demon gauge builders, and the Focus Strike, Screw Slicer evade attack, and Heavenly Blade Dance, they're all just stronger too. So I'm actually excited for Jewel Blades in Title Update 2. They addressed Longsword in a funny way. They basically tried to help players move the moveset outside of the Crimson Slash 1, Spirit Blade 1 infinite combo everyone's been doing by basically buffing Crimson Slash 2 and 3 and slight nerfs to Crimson Slash 1. Overall, the changes to Longsword don't feel like nerfs, but mostly buffs to the rest of the moveset, so I'm excited about that. I want to mention Charge Blade. They've made some improvements to guard points and the things you can do after that, but they're buffing up the whole Super Amped Element Discharge playstyle. So AED's better, SAED's better, the combo into SAD's better. They've made general movesets for the basic sword mode stronger, and if you buff up your sword with your vials, that's stronger too. They made some small power axe nerfs as well. They weren't too clear about whether that's the multi-attack of ED2 or the chainsaw tick damage in specific, but it is noticeably or going to be noticeably worse. Will SAD be the best option? We'll have to see. And I'm also pretty disappointed by the Switch Axe changes. Currently, Switch Axe is too much about full release, and you've got Axe and Sword mode moveset being overly weak. The changes in Title Update 2 are going to slightly improve your Axe mode output, the morphs, the gauge building, and some small stuff for the Sword mode as well. They did give some big buffs to Element Vial focuses, since most of us are using Power Vial, but with the bad monster element hit zones, I don't know if it's going to be enough. So overall, I think it's probably still going to be about full release as Switch X and not big enough of a change. We'll see though. Right, that's absolutely tons of stuff I wanted to mention so you're aware of, but what can you be doing right now to prepare for Title Update 2? Well, the obvious one is to be high enough Hunter rank, but I think we all are, right? So you could do a little bit of what I've been doing right now, which is farming out some of the other monsters and crafting the Rarity 8 versions of their base weapon. This is in prep for the layered system, right? This is what you can be doing right now. If you have the Rarity 8 version of the weapon before the update, then the update hits, you should be able to instantly layer the weapon that you want. So spending some time to actually farm out some of the cooler looking weapons now, you absolutely can do, and should encourage you to jump in now even before the title update. I think that's a great excuse. In regards to prepping for Lagiacrus and Seregios, I don't think you're going to be able to do a lot for Leggy. I mean, he's going to be doing a lot of water and thunder potential, right? And you could make sure your sets have resistance to those things, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. What I think will matter a lot more is what I've prepped here, which is basically an anti-bleed setup for my item loadout. It's not exactly the most involved thing, but it's something that I think you should consider. Wild Jerky is a fantastic item for curing bleeding. You can carry up to 5 on you at one time, so when you get a bleed, you just pop one of these, you're going to get some increased natural healing, and you get the bleed cure. Otherwise, you're going to have to stand still and crouch to cleanse it, which could not be the most ideal thing in the middle of a fight. Like I said earlier, they buffed the speed of that in Title Update 2, but I think having some Wild Jerky and an item loadout prep for that will be good for old Seregios. Otherwise, jump in and prep some meta sets for post-Title Update 1 and the May update. Maybe you can consider some of our build guides. We've done absolutely tons for all of the weapons back in Title Update 1. And we did quite a lot of different versions, whether it was basic max DPS or going into, AT Ray and latent power. So maybe go back, consider stuff, and prepare yourself as much as you can. So making sure that the gear that you're actually going to run is fully upgraded in terms of armor level for the raw defense that's going to provide is going to be a very good idea. Now is the time to farm some armor spheres, do some bounties, event quests, they're usually the best rewards. But don't forget you can go to the oilwell basin and convert monster materials into armor spheres as well. Absolute last thing I'm going to mention for this video is having a buffing and gathering set. I've mentioned this so many times, so we're going to be very quick. By swapping to a buffing set before you go on your hunt, you can pop one of the consumables and it will last longer. You'll pop them faster, and sometimes like that, it won't cost anything. Then once you've buffed up before the hunt, you can swap to your main actual gear set that you're going to use for that hunt, and you'll be good to go with the buffs applied at the same time with the longer duration. I think it's a great trick, especially when learning harder new monsters. My buffing and gathering set is this: the sealed hood, Chupacabra chest, battle vambraces and waist, and then the Azu's pants. Mainly for speed eating, item prolonger, and free meal. However you get those, it's great. For gathering, you want 4 levels of botanist and 3 levels of geologist. And that's it. There are other perks like, these other skills that can be nice, but aren't nearly as important. And if you decorate to get them in, not that hard. I think it's well worth doing. I do it before most any challenging hunt, especially if I'm up against a time limit for special rewards. But if you're low on anything like, say, mite seeds or whatever, now will be a great time to go gather before the update drops. But yeah, that'll cover everything for now that I wanted to discuss. If you guys have any extra information or, say, advice, let us know in the comments. Of course, we're going to be covering all things Title Update 2 very soon. So until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.